I think so many times our photographers that we mentor and we coach, and me, myself, I fall prey into it too, although not so much anymore, where we think of the one session. Now thinking of the next thing being now, right? Like it's not the next thing, it's the now thing. And what other opportunities are there from this one client that has come through your door? And for a high school senior, get out of the mindset of just what has to do with that senior year, but what has to do with the relationships with the people surrounding that high school senior. And that's where the eye-opening and the light bulb moments really start to happen.
Hey, and welcome back to the Difference Maker Revolution podcast. We're assuming you're back because you listen to this every single week. And we have Steve, we have Jeanine and Ronan's here. And we're going to talk about high school seniors and how you can go beyond the high school senior season and turn those clients into year-long clients. So Jeanine, Steve calls you the high school senior queen.
She's the senior queen.
Oh, he's funny. That's his way of saying, Jeanine, you are going to talk on this podcast.
Oh, yeah. We want to hear your sweet docile tones.
Oh, you're funny.
So Jeanine, you do high school seniors, right?
I do. I photograph high school seniors, and it's funny because I would never consider myself the high school senior queen because I don't do, I'm not one of the high school senior photographers, gurus that we have in this country, right? Like, it's not what I speak on. It's not what I wouldn't go to one of the high school senior conferences and call myself an expert. But what I am really good at is getting in the senior clients that we have and getting them to come back multiple times and turning those. See, I think so many senior photographers think of them as a one and done type of thing. And my whole why is always going through life with my clients, right? So I want to make that senior, when they come in for their senior session, that's just not the last time I see them, right? So that's where, and that's what we were going to talk about today, right? It's not a one and done thing. And even in the senior photographer mind, it's a big thing. I've seen them talking about this at conferences now, like doing this year-round album and like hitting up the different types of things but it's more than that, right? It's more than that. And it's a mindset. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So where I might not have all of the fancy lighting and all of the smoke effects and like all these crazy things that a lot of the senior photographers that are out there talk about, I do enjoy the fact that we get our seniors to come back for multiple types of sessions, and then those families become Cloud9 families for life.
You know all that smoky stuff and all that, Jeanine? AI is just going to take that away.
Yeah.
You're going to go beyond that. It's not about the smoke. It's not about the cool special effects. AI is going to do that.
And all the sets that go with it.
And all the sets that go with it, right? Yeah.
So senior photography is a phenomena that is purely American. I think there's been a few people try to bring it to Australia and it just never worked. So, I've never run a senior photography business, but I've coached senior photography businesses. And most of the people that come to me work really hard for 10 weeks of the year.
I know which 10 weeks those are, Steve.
Yeah, 10 weeks,
10 weeks of chaos. Yes.
And it's insane for 10 weeks. One of the photographers that I coached in Colorado was doing 400 senior sessions in 10 weeks. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
A lot.
It is a lot.
And then pretty much held on to his team and staff for the rest of the year doing nothing. Made all his money in the 10 weeks, but then because he needed those people, there's dribs and drabs coming in, but it wasn't a huge amount. 80% of his income was made in that 10 weeks. And I said, it's just not possible. Like, how can we not be getting other clients from that? And when I went, what I discovered was that for many of the seniors coming, the parents were coming. There were mums and dads coming, and they were pretty much ignored, right? Because the seniors, the star of the show.
It's all about you. Be the star.
All about you. Be a star. Yeah. And really, I let the team do it, and I was just observing. But I just couldn't help myself because the parents were told to sit in this waiting area. Some of them wanted to sort of follow along. And it wasn't discouraged, but they were encouraged to take a seat. We make you a coffee. Wait here. We'll be back. And I just spent my time, I couldn't cope with leaving them there by themselves. So I just spent my time talking to them and asking them about who this person was, the fact now that, you know, where is she going to go to college, or where is he going to college? What are you going to miss the most about? You know, they're in tears because they're telling me about what they're going to miss the most about them and whether they have any other children. By the end of the conversation, I'd already booked their family session and a session for their other child, because they feel so guilty about spending money on this child that's having their senior session. And they know that, you know, it's 3 or 4 years until this other child has their senior session, but they still feel guilty coming in for this and not including their other son or daughter. It was so easy. And people want it.
Well, it's interesting, Steve, because what you're saying is that, I mean, this is where we talk about this in non-senior sessions too, right? When we're mentoring and coaching our clients, like, and when you listen to the other people that come for the session, the parents, the grandparents, you find
Sometimes
out
it's the sister.
the best friend, the nanny. You know, I mean, whoever walks into that session clearly is there for a reason. They're important to the person. And it's interesting because we talked about this on the last podcast, right? Once you go through a life situation. So it's interesting because having gone through life now as a senior parent, right? This is my daughter's senior year. So much I have experienced now from the client's point of view, even though I am my own client, like I have experienced it from what the parent of the high school senior is experiencing. And I'll tell you what, Steve, this isn't all about the senior. It's really all about me.
Yeah.
It is really all about me. My daughter could care less about these photos. And honestly, so many of the seniors I have photographed over the years, if we're being honest, they didn't care about them. It was all for the parents. It really was.
Which is why they're happy to just have files.
Which is why they're happy to just have files. And so it's interesting because I think you say that senior photography is United States only. Well, let me tell you this, it's also regional, right? And so within the United States, there are certain regions of the United States that the high school senior market is much bigger than anywhere else, right? And that is the Midwest, right? The Midwest has a much bigger senior market. It's part of their nostalgia. It's part of their history. As tradition goes, the culmination of their life is being a high school senior, that cap and gown, that graduation. And this is the culmination of that. And in other parts of the country, like the Northeast, it's not like college graduation is, and so it's there. And so in Florida, same thing. It was never really a big thing. My best senior clients were always people who moved here from the Midwest. Right? Not people who grew up in Florida or came down here from New York, and they're like, seniors? What, you mean like old people? Right? So
that's what I thought it was.
Right. And so I always had to come at it from the mind of that the senior doesn't want this. Right. And so, but who does? The parents, because they're saying goodbye to their high school senior as they leave for college. And this is something you guys don't have over there, right? So, here it's very common that as soon as your kid graduates from high school, they go bye and they come back at Easter, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. And that's it, right? They go to college and then they go get their jobs and they leave sometimes, right? Or they could go to college locally, but still, like the joke always, when you stop doing their laundry, you stop controlling their schedules, right? So once they've moved out, even if they go to college in the same city but they're living in the dorm or they're living in an apartment with friends, as the parent, you don't control their schedule anymore. You're no longer their focus and priority. And so this senior year, it's really more of for the parent, for the senior, they're looking, like Erin is looking forward to going, right? She's sad to leave. It's an interesting mix. She's sad to leave her friends. I know this, but a lot of her good friends are going to college with her. She's sad to leave her school behind. She's like, there's a mixture of emotions of ending one chapter, but the excitement of starting a new chapter, right? And that's what the senior is going through. Whereas the parent, it is, I find myself this year crying at the most random things because it's the end of
I
something.
thought it was me.
Yeah, you do make me cry too, Steve. But for the parent, it's the end of something, you know? And especially, and it's not just, and this is what's really funny, and you guys didn't even know I was going to say this, but it's not just the end of my time with Erin in this capacity, but it is also all of my friends that I have built with her. Right. So Erin, and for me, even more so, because she's been in a K through 12 private school. So I have been good friends with the same set of moms for 14 years. And at the play, at the all school musical play the week before, we were all sitting in the front row. We all lost it. We were crying. We were crying because it was the end for them. But we were crying because we're looking at each other. We're like, we might never see each other again either. Like once our kids leave, what actually connects us anymore?
You're going to have to make an effort.
I'm going to have to make an effort, right? We're not going to have school functions and sporting events and plays and stuff to bring us together or scheduled school mom nights out. So for the parents, I think there's just as much change as there is for the kids. And so when senior photographers solely focus on the senior and this is your chance to be a star and your personality shining through, they're missing the boat because there's another factor involved here, and actually multiple factors. There's me, there's her father, and there's her siblings, right? And all of us are affected. Every single person related to that senior is affected when that senior is graduating and going off to college. And this is where it's not, I know a lot of senior photographers are like, well, you got prom and you have homecoming and you have these different things that you can, but that's still all focused on the senior, right? Whereas, and a senior will only want to go see a professional photographer so many times because they have their phones, they have their friends. And honestly, if you're going to be all honest about it, they like the photos that their friends take in the selfie mode with the duck lips more than what we create for them. Like they really do. Like, let me just do my duck lips in my selfie pose. That's what they prefer. They don't want what I have to create for them. Their parents do. Mm. And so when you're just focused on that senior, you're really missing, I think.
And let's not get confused. This isn't all happening in the senior shoot.
Correct.
These are additional.
These are additional opportunities
and additional reasons why this family needs to come back. And for some families, it's the first time they're beginning to face becoming an empty nest. Mm-hmm. The realization has just slapped them in the face.
Yes. It's a huge change. And if you stop to think about and brainstorm, when you did that discovery call with me, Steve, I think we saw a lot of members' eyes open on just the amount of opportunity there is when there's a significant life change in a family. Mm-hmm. And a high school senior graduate.
That's when people seek photography.
That is when people seek photography, is when there's a life change. And this life change is not just Erin. It's a life change for me. It's a life change for her dad. It's a life change for her grandparents. It's a life change for my partner. It's a life change for her brother. It's going to affect all of us in different ways.
Yeah.
In different ways. I didn't cry getting through that. See, having to focus on changing out the battery in my camera allowed me not to cry.
We know what was really happening and why you turned your camera off.
It affects me too, Jeanine, because next time I visit you in Tampa, I won't have Erin to play Risk with and beat her.
That's right. I know. And beat her, right? Because she beat you last time.
She beat me the first time. I've been practicing. I've just realized she won't be there probably the next time I visit you.
I know, right? We'll have to go up to Gainesville and say surprise at her dorm. We're here to play Risk.
We're here to play Risk. Can you imagine the reception we'll get?
She'll look at you and be like, why are you here? Which is often the comment I get from her. Why are you here? So Steve, these conversations, this is where I think that we need to talk about, because I think photographers need to realize, to make a difference in the life of their clients, of their high school senior clients, they need to have conversations. And the conversation needs to be more than what sport did you play and what
do you want to wear?
What do you want to wear?
Did you want me to use the smoke machine?
Right. So let's tell them what these conversations should be about, Steve. What should these conversations be? And who
Well,
should they be with?
we need to be calling the mums like I did with you, and the recording of that is in the inner circle for our members, and finding out, what are they going to miss the most about Erin, and what do you see in her as a mum? What do you love about her? How does she elevate your home? How does she elevate James, her brother? What does she bring to him? And we have to focus on the positive. But I think on the next session, Jeanine, it's about when we're inviting you back for your additional session, and that potential empty nester, being that potential empty nest, photographing you as a family, because reining Erin in after you stop doing her laundry and she's left the nest, we need to get a family experience in for you, because the chances of that happening in the next, I don't know, you guess how many years?
I joke with my clients until their wedding. Right, this is the last chance that you have, really, that you're going to be able to get them in for a family portrait until they get married. Like, to be honest, unless there's some significant life change that happens.
Yeah,
like an anniversary or a grandparent or something that calls that to happen. But in all reality, for the next 4 years, for sure, while they're in college, or 5 or 7, however many years they decide to go to college. If you have a kid who wants to be a doctor, God, it could be 10 years,
So the first thing we did when I was working with Graham was start photographing couples, as in the parents, because potential empty nesters have spent their life running around after these kids, running them to sports events, running them to dance rehearsals, running them everywhere, and their life's been busy. And suddenly they're slapped in the face with becoming empty nesters. And even though you've still got James, it's becoming more of a reality. And a lot of them are looking around thinking, who are you again? Right? Because they're dividing and conquering
life.
And they know who they are as the busy parent. But as that nest becomes smaller, they have to get reacquainted or get to know each other, or in some cases, discover who that person is for the very first time, because they've been so busy being busy that they turn around and think, who are you? And you look at a lot of people whose kids are now moving on and doing that. This is when all the divorces happen.
Yeah. I was going to say that. It's
all the separations begin to happen. And it's those potential empty nesters that need us to say, hey, who is this person? What do you love about this person? And help them, like we did, for Ronan and in the last episode for Ronan and Freya. Now, who is Susan? Who is she? What are those qualities that, you fell in love with? And what are those qualities that you see in her now? Because between work, running kids, running the house, we forget to stop and notice that other person. And AI is not going to do that.
No, it's not.
We have no competition when, if you're the photographer who's going to make people look good, you're in trouble. if you're going to rely on, come in for, a fashion shoot, come in, we'll make you look amazing. Already that photographer is being replaced. But those people that are going to help relationships, those people that are going to help people think about what they love about another person and bring people together, bring families together, they're thriving. And even what's happening in America right now, Jeanine, all of the disruption, all of the uncertainty, this is when people reach out for what we do even more. Because whenever there is uncertainty, people cling to their families more.
They do.
People are looking to celebrate their families more. And so, through the last, economic crash of America, through, the economy crash worldwide, we made the most money because families really need this during these times.
And what's interesting is we talked about this in the last episode too. What is the age demographic of most high school senior parents? Right? They are that Gen X and even into Boomer, like some of them that had children late in life. It is the generation that values what we offer.
Yeah.
And they have the money to spend. And they have the money to spend. The child does not. The child doesn't value that. They value, like you said, they value the files and the instant memories on Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok.
If anything, they're determined to kibosh your sale.
Yeah. But you know what the senior does? And it's interesting because I always enjoy studying up on nostalgia and how that plays an impact in our lives and with marketing and different offerings that we do. And it was an interesting thing about nostalgia in children and the half-life of it, right? So it was that if for adults, how long it takes for something to be nostalgic, like whether it be our traditions for Christmas Eve and things like that. For children, it's half their life. So they were saying so for Erin and her friends that they're 17, they'll feel something nostalgic for something that happened 8 years ago, right? So things that far past. And so it's interesting because I have noticed that with her. She's feeling very nostalgic about her friend group because they've built this time together and these traditions together. And that's what she's feeling the nostalgia of leaving behind. So they do have it. It's just very different. And it's not what photographers focus on. She could care less about her violin. I mean, she loves her violin and she likes her swim, but those are just her activities. There's nothing, for her. Now, clearly, if it's someone who is, the going to college on a scholarship for their sport, that might have some kind of deeper meaning to them and things like that. But for most of our kids, it's their friends. It's the traditions they've built. It's their family. It's their siblings, even though they won't admit it. And these things that they're starting to realize they're going to miss. And if they're being honest with themselves, which they won't be, but if they're being honest with themselves, they want a piece of that too. And you just have to have the conversations to figure that out. Because
for them to figure it out.
For them to figure it out. Because that's what's going to take it more than, or them looking at me like, I just prefer the selfie, right? To this photo having meaning, or to the additional sessions to have meaning, right? For the additional sessions to have meaning. And when you have that discovery call with me, this is, and we could rattle off, in a minute, Steve, the additional portrait opportunities for a high school senior. And it's incredible. And I think so many times our photographers that we mentor and we coach, and me, myself, I fall prey into it too, although not so much anymore, where we think of the one session. And then we might think of the next. I was always very good at thinking of the next step and how getting people to come back for the next thing. But now thinking of the next thing being now, right? It's not the next thing, it's the now thing. And what other opportunities are there from this one client that has come through your door? And for a high school senior, get out of the mindset of just what has to do with that senior year, but what has to do with the relationships of the people surrounding that high school senior. And that's where the eye-opening and the light bulb moments really start to happen, because we have the high school senior, of course, but then you have the family portrait, like we've mentioned. But then you have those individual relationships, especially so many parents, while they're either empty nesting and you have that, like you said, to get their couple portrait, but a lot of parents are already divorced, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not doing a family portrait with her dad. And so he's a very nice man and he's a very good father, but I have no desire to be in a portrait with him. But what I do have a huge desire for is a portrait of me and Aaron. And I really want that. And now, since we had that conversation, that's all I can think about. Like, Ronan can think about nothing but that portrait that he wants from that wedding. I am plotting and scheming and planning this portrait of me and Aaron because that's what I want. And when you have this, so you have the individual parent relationships with each other, or if they're divorced, with the child themselves, and you have the sibling and you have that family unit. Well, guess what? If I was a photographer and Aaron was my client, I would have two, right? Because it would be her dad, Aaron, and her brother, and then me, Aaron, and her brother. So those are two separate family portrait scenarios that would need to be looked at.
Two completely different sessions.
Two completely different sessions, because that's not going to be one. Right? So two completely different sessions. And then you also have the college decision, right? And this has been huge for us this year. And I know it ties a little bit into the cycle of the high school senior, but the child choosing which college and university they're going to attend is a big life decision. And so now it's interesting because nostalgia ties into here too for parents, right? So you could have a kid who's choosing a university that is their dream and where they want to go and where they get into, and it's huge, right? And they want to put on all the merch and do all the things and be photographed, and now what's going to be their new identity. And for us here in the US, and I don't know how it is with you guys, but I'm sure, like, I still identify with my university, right? Everything, like, you guys hear it, you guys see it. I have stuff back here. Like, I have my Gator stuff everywhere. I still identify as a University of Florida Gator. That's still I see someone wearing a Gator shirt out and about, and I say, "Go Gators" to them. They say, "Go Gators" back to me, and we do a little Gator chomp. These are complete strangers, right? So, that'd be a whole different podcast about what a university, yeah, Go Gators. A whole nother podcast about what type of tribal community universities actually build for people, and universities know this. It's a thing, right? And so, when a child chooses to go to the university that the parents went to, I mean, come on. Yeah, and so, like, photographers that are in college towns, Heather Beatles is one of our members, right? And she photographs in a college town. And you talk to her about some of her most high-dollared, emotional family portrait sessions. It's the ones of when the kids are also going to go to the same college in that town that the parents went to, and they all come in and they'll wear their normal clothing, but then they'll all change into the college merch, and they do a family portrait together for the university because now their child is coming into this experiencing the nostalgia too. And this will be happening to Aaron. I know I'm like speaking Greek to you guys right now because you're like, what the heck is she talking about? But like, Aaron always hears about the University of Florida from my perspective, and what I experienced really means nothing to her. But now she's going to go experience it for herself. And when she comes out the other side at the end of those 4 years, she'll understand. And I can't wait for that moment. I cannot wait for that moment when she finally gets, why does my mother say "Go Gators" to every single person she passes when she sees them wearing a Gator shirt, right? She'll understand. And it'll become part of her tribe. She'll become part of that tribe.
There'll be two of you running.
There'll be two of us doing it. And so it's another rite of passage, and it's so interesting. So you have that celebration of the child choosing their university, choosing who their tribe is going to be. And then you have that double when it happens to be the same university as a parent or a grandparent, because it's just, or a first, and then you also have, there's so much tied into this. You have a lot of first-time college goers, right? A lot of families where this is the first kid going to university, and how incredible that is, and what a family achievement it is to have the first child in the family attend the university. So there's so many opportunities for celebration.
And we haven't even started with you and Tim yet.
Right? I know we haven't even gotten there. Right? I mean, so this one high school senior, I mean, we've already rattled off 6 or 7 portrait opportunities. We haven't even gotten to me and my boyfriend, right? And celebrating that, because now as a photographer, I've met me. Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like you've now met this new person.
Now with that slap of reality of the potential empty nest, then
right,
he's who you're going to be left with. And that's,
Tim, what he means, who I am going to be blessed with.
You're blessed with. Blessed with.
Oh, you guys are funny.
But when that reality hits you, that's like, that's who's left in the room, right? And even though you've got James, those thoughts come in. And so, it's important for people to recalibrate that relationship now, because it is going to be different, and it's important for people to then find themselves again in these relationships, because it is going to be different.
It's going to be different.
Yeah. So you're right. There's lots and lots, and so what we found for Graham was that those 10 weeks were a marketing exercise.
Yes.
And he thought he was doing really, really well. But when you can make consistent income every week, then you have a rocking business.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why he couldn't, because he's done all the hard work. Yeah. So if people want to know more, Ronan, where should they go?
Well, Steve, all they have to do is click on the link below, join the inner circle, where you will join not only this mentor team, but photographers from around the world, portrait and wedding photographers who are making a difference with our clients every single day. So just click on the link and we'll see you on the inside.
Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.